time, I wasn't quite sure what I'd find. Living life.
Hello, welcome to Album Deep Dive for Jason and Friends. And today I have my two partners here, BJ and Joe. A little trip down memory lane, the Doors album, the first one. One of the best albums out of the 60s. One of the best debut album out of the 60s, I would say.
Yeah, as for a debut album, I mean, yeah, it is super strong, and it shows up on a lot of, top albums of all time lists. So yeah, definitely worth remembering.
Hey. And I was like so used to kind of, my numerous collection of Doors greatest hits that I've constantly listened to over it. It was actually refreshing to go back and just listen just to the first album, and it's like, wow, there's a lot of good songs on there that get kind of buried. It's a shame. It's such a strong offering, right out of the bat.
Yeah, I would say an album that maybe I think there's like one weak song for me. I think it's solid. Right, The Doors, January 4th, 1967, recorded in August of 1966. Kind of interesting to see that things moved so quickly in the 60s, especially some bands were putting out 2 albums a year, and to see that they recorded in August and didn't come out until January is very interesting. Yeah. Psychedelic rock, art rock, blues rock. That was something that I picked up when I was listening to today, where known at the end of the Doors career that they wanted to be like a blues rock band. When you hear some of these songs on this first album, that blues rock was there from day one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's so many different sounds and influences that I think go into this group. I mean, you look at Robbie's background was like folk, and they call flamenco guitar, kind of like a classical guitar, the nylon strings. John's got a lot of influences in jazz and different things, but you hear that blues thing coming in. It's just a really neat mix.
It's like the blues is like what they were really good at and what they were really polished on, and then the psychedelic part kind of came by accident of Jim just kind of going over top of it all.
Yeah, Jim definitely brought that psychedelic. I guess he was more of a poetry writer. He was just incredible.
I don't know how widely they were published or whatever, but he did it. He did like 2 books, I think, that were, and I'm probably off on that, but I know he was really hardcore trying to get the poetry going. It never got off the ground and didn't get good reviews. And he's like, well, all right, I'll just make lyrics out of it instead.
And a film student. That's how he met Ray Manzarek. They were in film school together, and he did an artsy film that wasn't accepted in the class, and he walked out and, wound up, like you said, doing the poetry, and then wound up meeting back up with Ray and starting the Doors, which was incredible. It was produced by Paul A. Rothchild, who at the time wasn't that well known as a producer, when he became very well known. He produced a lot of the great 60 albums, 68, 69. Mm-hmm. Sold over 15 million copies, too.
Yeah, and they were originally signed to, I believe it was Columbia Records. They weren't really getting any support from the label. I think they didn't assign them any kind of a producer, and they asked basically to be released from the contract. It was sometime later when they were playing at the Whiskey A Go-Go that a rep from Elektra had seen them, and then the rest is history.
Said that when I was reading up today, they had going back recordings from 1965.
Yeah, was it Rick and the Ravens? I think 3 of them. Was it John, Jim, and Ray had been in a band together, and then they got Robbie later? Is that right? And that's when that became the Doors, right?
Yeah, I don't know if Jim was the last or Robbie was the last, but
Robbie was the last.
Jim Morrison, lead vocals, lyrics, Ray Manzarek, keyboard, bass. Love that. Robbie Krieger, guitar songwriter, and John Densmore, drum. It's amazing how much bass you think you hear in this it's not there.
These amazing, keyboard parts that Ray's doing. It's just like he's playing just the bass parts with one hand, and he's just going off, with the other hand, and it's just like, holy cow, you don't realize that's what you're hearing until you like see him play it. And you're like, oh man, that's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, you think of some of the great keyboard players. I mean, I think of the style of Rod Argent from the Zombies. I feel a little bit of that in Ray's playing, but I mean, Ray's doing his own thing too.
The party life's too much. Yep. Morrison's reputation was not very good. Alcohol, drug abuse, rebellion, lots of crazy poetry. Many people viewed as Morrison as a dangerous. Older people found him dangerous. Many young people viewed him as a prophet. I thought there was only one prophet. That was Joseph Smith. I don't know.
Well, I hear all the lizards look up to him.
I spent too much time in Utah the other week.
Is that what happened? Okay.
Yeah. I went to one Mormon museum and it was cool. Let's deep dive this album. Let's go to track number 1. The jazz drumming just from the very beginning gets me.
Yeah, that little bossa nova thing. Yeah.
What you would think is a bass line, but I don't know if that was a bass line or if that was Ray on his keys.
That's his organ. The keyboard, I mean.
Not his organ. He would have an interest in the organ then.
Ray tickling the ivories.
And then Robbie's unique guitar playing. I find his guitar playing very unique, and this is what I love about the show. You both being guys that know how to play guitar. What do you guys think? Like, is it unique, or is he just a guitar player at that time?
Yeah, and my thoughts, I mean, in this particular track, I think he's even said it. It's like a Paul Butterfield type thing that he's doing with the guitar. But with his background, coming from like the folk flamenco type thing, and then them bringing that into the style of music they were doing, I mean, he wasn't necessarily a rock guy. So I think that's why a lot of what he's doing stands out as being something that is unique.
And I feel like when he plays with Ray and it's just like it really reminds me of how Alex Lifeson plays with Rush a lot. Like he's very talented, but he is a piece of the puzzle. He fits in there and adds just enough guitar that you need. Like a lot of guitarists will really overpower you and showboat and he didn't do that. He played, and most jazz guitarists are like that. They play the part they need, and when they need to do more, they'll do more. And he really definitely brought the right components, I think, to not just this song, but all of them.
Yeah. All right, let's listen a little more.
The day destroys the night, night divides the day. Try to run, try to hide.
Jim's lyrics, which let's get here to the lyrics part. The day destroys the night divides the day. Try to run, try to hide. I mean, what a great way to start a song, I think.
Mm-hmm. And start an album. Basically when people are bringing this album home, this is their introduction to this band, and he, like you mentioned already, you hear the little, drumming thing going on. And then when Jim's voice comes in, but the voice, Jim had this thing that he was so effortless, yet so powerful at the same time. Like the sounds just came out. Like you see some singers out there and they're belting and their faces turning red and they got veins stick. But Jim was just so effortless, that power.
Like he could go from a melody to a screaming, almost growl. If he had lived 30 more years, he'd have been an amazing heavy metal singer. But
I think too that his kind of screaming was definitely what brought into the '90s alternative.
Mm-hmm. Definitely influenced a lot of people. It could maybe this guy, a little bit.
Break on through to the other side. Break on through to the other side. Break on through to the other side. Yeah.
And I love the chorus because, I think he really believed in another side, to break on through to it too.
He definitely tried to do it.
He wanted to live that. It wasn't like just words. It was a lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
Then we got Soul Kitchen, track number 2. Interesting song, I think. The title, Soul Kitchen. Pretty cool. Here it is. Ray was good at intros.
When a song opens, if it has that little gimmick, has that little hook that draws your ear in and identifies it,
that's you can see that intros throughout their career important because they do a lot of different intros, which was their thing. I was never a huge fan of keyboards, especially in the 80s. I hated when it was used in the 80s. But something about Ray's keyboards and organ and all that was just phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of what Ray's doing. Yeah,
the 80s, it was just more sauce to put on the pizza, with the keyboards. The guitars were doing the heavy lifting, but in the Doors case, they were really broke down, more simplified. So you're that's really what you're listening to is Ray playing the keyboard. And then kind of everything plays around him. Very powerful.
Yeah, I would kind of compare cars of the 60s to music of the 60s and cars of the 80s, compared to cars of the 80s. When you lift up the hood of a 69 Ford Mustang, you see all the parts. Everything's identifiable. But by the 80s, everything was synthesizer and you had all these, overdubs and everything. It's you lift up the hood of your engine and everything's bunched together and I can't identify anything. Mm-hmm. So that's something I like about this. Everything is clear, everything stands out, and it's identifiable.
Well, it's interesting too with this song. I would have easily called it a cover, and kind of find out that it's really written by the band, which is because it sounds kind of like bluesy.
Yeah, I don't know if it was John or someone's interview. I said there was actually a place in Venice Beach that they would go to. I think it was called Olivia's something or
Olivia's
other.
Place.
Olivia's Place. That's it. Okay,
yeah.
You tell the story if you know it. Yeah.
Oh, I probably know about as much as you, but it's this place that apparently it was near UCLA or somewhere that Jim used to go there a lot, and they would have to kick him out because he wouldn't leave. He would want to hang out all night, and because he was just sleeping on a roof for no reason. He totally didn't have to, but he just wanted to be in complete squalor and poverty, to get that artist experience. And he would hang out there as much as he could, and then they'd kick him out and he'd go sleep on the roof. That's what I heard.
Okay.
He didn't come from a poor family, but you're right. He did want to live that life. Here's a little bit more Soul Kitchen.
Let me sleep all night in your soul kitchen. Warm my mind with your gentle snow.
Yeah, let me sleep all night in your Soul Kitchen. Maybe he tried to sleep in the kitchen.
Maybe. I could see that.
Again, I like this song. It keeps the flow. The flow from the first song to the second song. You guys got your head bopping. Here's a little bit more.
Alphabet, I light another cigarette. Learn to forget.
For a guy who really wasn't a singer, more of a poet, to recording their first album, and could have been, Paul Rothchild advice, but
yeah, sing this part, but just a little different right here.
Crystal Ship, one of the top songs on the album for me.
Before you slip into unconsciousness,
This song has beautiful lyrics, beautiful melodies, everything.
Mm-hmm. It's the rock ballad of the 60s that nobody talks about.
Yeah, it's in the right pocket here too. I mean, you break on through, and then your second song, your Soul Kitchen, are very grooving songs in a very up tempo, and then pull it back for that third track, and then comes in a real quiet, and it gets into that psychedelic kind of thing going on in the middle. Yeah, it's perfect placement for the track too.
Yeah, it's kind of like reminds you of how the '80s turned out, where you had you buy an album from the '80s and you get your first two like rockin' tracks, and you get that ballad. It's like the innovators of the way an album should flow. Right. Let's listen a little more. Important part of that piece for me was Ray is more of an organ person in all the songs, but he was just stripped down piano, and it shows what a great melody he could write on just a plain piano.
Yeah, he's definitely showing off his chops with this one.
I'd say probably the top keyboard player of the 60s, without a doubt.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I always have to look at the Zombies, and Rod Argent is one I think was a great innovator. And then somebody else I thought was kind of interesting, I don't know, it has got much attention, Brian Auger in the Trinity when he was with Julie Driscoll. The Rod Argent, I think, and Ray Manzarek are top for me.
The Zombies, that was Time of the Season, right?
Yeah, that was.
I love that. That's a good song. Other than that, I don't know much about the Zombies.
Cool band.
Something tells me I'm going to find out very soon.
Okay.
2 weeks.
Yeah, in another week or two. Here's a little more of the Crystal Ship.
Oh, tell me where your freedom lies. The streets are fields that never.
So, I mean, so many things about like his phrasing, his his technique. He opens his mouth, it just pours out.
Yeah, he's so with it. Like we're saying, he can just go from the most craziest scream or growl to the most beautiful melody with ease. Like
effectively, not just randomly, but with intent.
Yep, very well orchestrated. It's funny thing about this song, I want to tell you before I forget, is it probably has nothing to do with it at all, but it reminds me of like the elves sailing away to the west in Lord of the Rings. I don't know. It probably has nothing to do with it at all, but it kind of made me think about that.
I'm curious to see if this song was ever covered, like by any big bands.
Oh, no. I never heard in it.
Yeah, because this is such a good song. I don't know how somebody's not touched this song and redone it. And
maybe because it was done so well that anyone who tries to touch it is gonna fall apart.
Good job. Mark. Yeah.
20th Century Fox. Like every time I hear that title, I think of the movies.
The studio.
20th Century Fox Studio.
Yeah,
especially being a Star Wars fan, because that's that. That gets my attention. Obviously about a girl. I guess in the '60s, Fox was the title, huh? For
she was a hottie. She was a honey.
She was a Fox
show. She was a doll.
There's a little 20th Century Fox.
But she's no drag, just watch the way she walks. She's a...
Yeah, it's a fun little storyteller about a character. I mean, I think, she's very materialistic, but I mean, they're an LA band, and I think they're maybe talking about the whole LA experience, the Hollywood experience,
Here's a little bit more. I know it was his solo, but it just looked like he was doing like some kind of scale, really.
Pretty much basic blues scale, but at least he put that in there and made it sound good. That's one thing I like about the song. How like I was saying, he always had just the right ingredients for the song to give it what it needed. Just a catchy song about a hot chick, and it's like, wow, this is the kind of solo you need to put to that, and we'll get her done, and it sounds good and catchy.
Yeah, a lot can be said in simplicity. I think sometimes, like, BJ had mentioned earlier that certain guitarists, they just try to overplay and just try to, be showy and everything. And when you do that, it's just like, does it really help the song?
Yeah, well, Robbie, he was they were just advertising something for him doing Doors music. So, it's just incredible. Here's a little bit more.
And she's the lady who waits. Sets her mind, let's go on.
This has that classic Doors sound to it where you have the little art breakdown, got the organ going, and Jim just slowly, it's like almost like a sexy talk type of thing, I guess he's trying to do. I love the song. Now, not written by the Doors. I think it was a traditional Irish song, if I'm correct. Made me wish I brought my whiskey into the office and being able to do a shot.
We have time.
Here we go. Here's a little bit of Alabama. Well, here it's written Whiskey Bar Alabama song, but Alabama Whiskey song.
Well, show me the way to the next whiskey bar. Oh, don't ask why.
I don't know what it is about the sound of this song, but when I was a child and my father used to play this album all the time, this song was like my favorite song.
Because you're at a drunk carnival having a blast. Some guy running around playing a mandolin behind your ear real quick when you're like, what was that? Was that a mandolin?
Yeah, I thought it was some kind of an opera or something it was supposed to be for. You said you thought it may be an Irish song, but I think I read somewhere that it was from an opera, but I'm not really sure. The little introduction, like a wump, bump, bump, bump kind of thing reminds me of, had you ever seen Modern Times with Charlie Chaplin, where he's on stage and he's about to do a number and he had the lyrics written on his cuffs. And as he's like doing his dance in this introduction, that sounds kind of like this, his cuffs fly off and he don't have any words to say. So he's out there dancing, like trying to figure out, like, I don't know what to sing. And he just makes up nonsense words. But that little like opening always makes me think of Modern Times and Charlie Chaplin.
Is that later Charlie Chaplin? Like from the talking
in the 30s. It was in the
30s. I don't think I've seen that one. I saw that.
It's mostly silent, but it has a few lines in it. Yeah.
You haven't seen Charlie Chaplin until you experience him in THX or Dolby theaters, but
oh, really?
No.
I was going to say, you saw that? I was going to say, that's so cool.
No sound.
Yeah, it's, well, the music, but definitely a fan of silent films, that's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, here's a little more.
We're going to have to find out what the origin of this song is.
Yeah, where's Nicole? She would be on it right now.
Here we go. Alabama Whiskey song sung by the Doors from the album there. David Bowie had a version of it. That's weird. I did not know that.
Yeah, I heard he did, but it doesn't ever come to mind because I listen to a lot of Bowie, and I'm like, I can't place him singing that for some reason. But
in 1980, like his version of that.
I had to have heard it. It just doesn't come to mind when I try to think of it.
And it was Paul Rothchild's idea to provide the marxophone on the track.
Yeah, that's that little instrument we're hearing in the background. Yeah.
What is it called?
Marxophone?
A marxophone?
Yeah.
I was like, what is that? Is that Robbie like doing some real high notes there? Or is he a mandolin? Or it almost sounds like bells, or something like.
Yeah, I think it's some kind of instrument that's like struck with a hammer, or like a little. I don't know. Let's look up what a marxophone is.
I know. I'm more curious about. Well, I don't. This song just has all kinds of curiosities that's making us go,
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's so I'm getting here. It's an English language song written. Let's see, it was written in 1925 to opera "Rise and Fall of the City of Montgomery." written in the early 1900s. So, because I mean, it was written in 1925, so you figure 1960, it's already over 30 years old. Yeah, wow.
It was in public domain, so.
Can you see the Marxophone?
I think I've seen one of those.
Yeah,
No clue what it was.
yeah, they got little hammers that go against the strings. And it's amazing that, I mean, he was that familiar with such an odd instrument.
Yeah. Ooh, Moon of Alabama, we must say goodbye. We lost our good old mama, and we must have whiskey, or you know why. I love that one. Number one song, single, surprisingly a single because of it being like 7 minutes long, and not written by Jim Morrison. Lyrics. This is a Robbie Krieger song. And probably one of the most famous songs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, didn't they have like a 3-minute edited radio version for that didn't have all the great solos, and I mean that whole breakdown in the middle is one of the greatest parts of the song.
It's funny when you hear that and you're like, what happened to the solos? Where'd they go?
Right.
But I get it. You want to be about half that to be on the radio friendly or whatever. Joe, it's funny you said earlier that they got the intro. When you hear the intro of the song, immediately like, oh, this is gonna be cool. And for me, it's like you hit that one snare hit, like bap, and you're like, oh, here it comes. Yeah. And I get so excited still to this day when I hear it come on. I'm like, yeah.
So there was a good story that Ray Manzarek had told. I don't know if you've ever seen the performance on the Ed Sullivan Show. He said that about 30 minutes before they were about to go on, a network executive comes in and says, guys, that lyric, higher, you can't say that on television. You have to come up with something else. And they're like, okay, we'll think of something like 30 minutes before we're supposed to go on. And Jim's like, nah, man, we're gonna sing it the way we always do. And they said, okay. They went out and he sings the word higher, and goes out on the Ed Sullivan Show, and afterwards he comes in. He's like, "You promised that you were going to change the lyric," and it's like, "Oh, but we were excited, we forgot." Ray's trying to smooth it over,
trying to put it out the fire.
but he's like, "You'll never work the Ed Sullivan Show again. We were going to book you for 6 more performances." And he's like, "Oh crap, no way." And then he said that Jim, in his Jim Morrison fashion, just says, "We just did the Ed Sullivan Show, man." But they never did again.
They never did. I was wondering if that was like, I know this story, but I thought they were on again, but I mean, God,
probably not.
Could you imagine just
they put that in the movie. That's how I remember that. It was in the Doors movie. And when they got to that part, it's funny, they're filming him, and when you get to the lyric, Jim is like, "Couldn't get much higher," he like really gets close and accentuates it, like, and then you just see them like losing their minds back there. Like, "No, I told you not to say that."
Well, I don't know if it happened in real life, but in the movie version, he also hits the camera down to his crotch.
Oh, yeah.
So now he says higher, then they got it on the crotch, and which again in '67 it was not. That doesn't happen.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know if I've watched the movie all the way through. I know, like, when did that come out? Early '90s, mid '90s, something like
90.
that.
Yeah, I want to say
90. Okay, so I'm a
1990,
high school kid,
yeah.
and I'm already into all this great music. I've been listening to the Beatles and all these different things, and then all of a sudden, like, all my classmates like, "Oh yeah, we're Doors fans." I'm like, "Why are you a Doors fan now?" And I got a Doors poster in my room. I'm like, "That's not a Doors poster. That's Jim Morrison. It says the Doors. Where's the rest of them?" I would get in all these arguments with everybody, the Beatles are they don't even like recognize like all these other great. they don't know who Jimi Hendrix is, but I'm a Doors fan. Like, and like 2 years later, they were a Wiccan, and then, the year after that, there was something else. Like, oh yeah.
All my '90s friends right there.
When the '90s came and that movie came out, I went Doors crazy. Number one, I saw the movie 5 times in the theater when it came out. I remember I couldn't stop going. Everybody thought I was crazy. I went and got every Doors album and just played it over and over. It was such a find for me. Like I probably knew the first album, LA Woman and Soft Parade, but I didn't know much about Strange Days, Waiting for the Sun, Morrison Hotel. So finding those albums and in 1990 was just incredible. And I remember hearing "Waiting for the Sun" for the first time. The song "Waiting for the Sun," which is I think one of the best songs they ever did.
Yeah.
But let's listen to the biggest song they've ever had, which is the highest charting song.
This has always been my favorite song. It's like their flagship. Definitely, it's hard to believe this was on the first album. You thought, oh, maybe this came along late. Like, nope, first album.
First album, first single. As we were talking about the radio cut, I will have to tell you guys, like, if someone said, listen, I don't have the full version, but you can listen to the 3-minute version, I'd pass. I'd rather not listen to. I want the full 7 minutes or nothing.
That's it.
How do you feel about the radio cut of Inagata Davida?
I never heard it. I mean, I know the regular version, which I love. But yeah, I probably wouldn't like it. I'm not a fan of editing.
Yeah, I don't like that it's edited, but I'm okay with a shorter version of that because it's insanely long. They're like the Tool of their day. Like, hey, let's make these 13-minute songs, and the radio's like, nah, come on. For real.
I'm a fan. I'm not a fan of jam bands. Jam for 20, 30 minutes. But if you write a song that's 13, 14, 15 minutes, that's usually the song that I love about a band. Light My Fire.
You know that it would be untrue. You know that I would be a liar if I was to say to
a song sung so well by Jim, but not written by Jim, and written by the lyrics by Robbie Krieger to kind of compete with Jim, because he felt if he had to do something with fire to get into Jim's world.
They had that conversation in the movie too. They're like, well, if I'm going to write a song, it's got to be about death or fire or something to, to compete with Jim's lyrics.
girl, we couldn't get much higher.
Yeah, I got to actually, because the song is so long, I have a couple of, I usually do 7 seconds of the song. I got a couple more on this one because when it's so long, there's so much to celebrate. So let's listen to a little bit more.
Come on, baby, light my fire. Come on, baby, light my fire.
Try to set the night on fire. Very simply written, but so catchy.
That's why the music is higher end.
Was Howlin' Wolf recorded this? Is that
Sounds right.
Willie Dixon. It was written by Willie Dixon.
Okay.
It might have been recorded, I'm sure, more. This was written in 55. Come on,
Guessing. I don't know. Okay.
The classic, blues, and why they picked this one, out of all the songs to record. But this was a good one.
I think it was, when they were playing live, before they did the record, they had a lot of kind of filler songs, just songs that they knew. And, when they got to the album, they're like, well, hey, we need this many songs. And they're like, well, we really do play this song pretty good and people like it. So it got on there. It's like, it's not my favorite song, but I got to admit, it's a good song. They sound good. playing it. Everybody brings a little something to it. You could tell it's a little more like polished. Some of the other songs, they play this live quite a bit.
Like you said, it's crazy because they did pick this one because really at this time they had most of the Strange Days songs. They could have easily popped this off and put one of them on. So it just shows you the passion they had for the song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they liked it, or maybe Rothschild liked it. He was like, play that one song that I heard at the whiskey. That was really good.
Here's a little bit more of it. I'm a backdoor man. That scream that only Jim can give. Here's a little bit more. A little taste again of it's so interesting with the Doors is that, a lot of bands focus on a lot of fans focus on lead singers and the lyrics and everything. But when the Doors were just playing, God, they have such a good sound, and they're equal to me. They're equal to Jim in their, like, where Jim was like such a good lyricist and a singer. Robbie was just as good as a guitar player, and Ray was just as good as a organist, and John was just as good as a drummer.
Yeah, and I mean, they went on to make 2 albums, I believe, after Jim passed away, and they're good albums. I know a lot of people like, oh, I can't be the Doors without Jim. But, guess what? I mean, Ray, John, and Robbie, were a big part of that sound. And that sound was still cool with or without Jim. And I take nothing away from it. Like I've already said, I mean, he had that gift, that voice that just so effortlessly, and just knew how to, accent and pour it on when he needed to and pull it back when he needed to. And he was excellent. However, I used to argue, like I was saying, with kids in school and stuff, like, that's not even a Doors poster. That's a Jim Morrison poster. Like, I love the Doors, man. Like, shut up. I was always ready to fight these people.
The PR team was like, no, we got to put this guy on the cover. He's the good looking one. You guys are funny looking. We don't want you.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That always irritated me.
Another thing about Manzarek is, not only is he like playing, a fiddle with his toes and the bass with one hand and keyboard with the, there's times when Jim would just like pass out and he would just sing the songs, which is amazing.
That's so heard of because nowadays a lead singer, unless you're the Gallagher brothers or Oasis, where they'll be like, I'll sing it, but yeah, you don't usually find another band member getting up and singing it for them. So I look at you. The interesting thing about this song for me is that it's your typical standard 1967 song, like the sound of it, everything, which is not taking away from it. I think it's very cool. Like, I think any of the bands in the 60s could have pulled this one off. I think right there, BJ, is just what you're saying. I could totally see distortion kicking it in that part.
Mm-hmm. And you wouldn't need to do anything with Jim's voice because he's beautiful. You could put him over top of whatever you want to do with this song, if you ever wanted to remix it, because there's so many. And this is one of the few songs where they kind of layer his voice. He does a couple different things. Like, did he come up with that? Or did, the sound guy do it? I don't know. It comes out just so powerful over, what's really a simple song. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You got to have some talent to hang with the jazz bands.
I have to say, for me, this is a highlight of the album. I love this song. Here's a little bit of it, End of the Night.
And it's placed in a pretty a good spot on the record, like towards the end. And this is probably the first of the end themed, songs. Not the end. The music's over. That's what it reminds me of, that song on the second album. And that song got pretty popular, which I think it kind of overshadows this song because they're maybe a little similar. But this is a just beautiful song. They all kind of shine in this one too, adding their little bits and pieces to it.
Yeah, and the title was taken from a novel, I believe, that Journey to the End of the Night. I'm not familiar with the work, but that's what I had heard before. Lyrics were inspired by some poetry that he had heard too. That wasn't connected to the novel, I don't believe.
Yeah, like I said, there's very little lyrics to it, but what is written, like realms of bliss, realms of light, some are born to sweet delight. I mean, it's very simple, but I really it's beautiful poetry. Take the highway to the end of the night. For me, this is a song throughout the years. Even like there's many times this years that I just went and played this song. Not even listened to the album. I just went straight to the song. I love this song.
Take the highway to the end of the night, end of the night.
Let's wrap it up with this song one more time.
So bliss, realms of light.
Singing that way, like Joe's brought this up, he's singing, but you can tell he's not straining himself, but he's out there giving it like a loud, singing.
Yeah, not straining at all, just flows out of him. Just like Jim, not being a musician, has this gift of, I need to match this or sing over this or sing something over this and just nail it. Every song they did on this, I think they only maybe played every song like maybe a couple takes. They only took them a couple days to do it. So a lot of these songs might even be first take.
Yeah, Jim has like a feel for what the song needs. There's so that, like, the emotion is right, the phrasing is right. The when to pull, when to go full thrust and when to pull off the throttle is always, it fits the song.
Yep, exactly.
All right, let's bring it to we got the end of the night, and let's bring it to the end. Let's see, take it as it comes.
Time to live, time to laugh.
Yeah, I love the song. It's great. It feels like just like a punk song, punk rock song, ahead of its time. And funny thing about the song is I heard a lot of people say that this is during Vietnam, that they would play this on the the AFVN, the American network, Vietnam, like their radio station over there. Like they would play this a lot over there, this song, and a lot of the guys, would hear this and kind of. I mean, got them through at the time. They're like, "Oh yeah, that song's awesome," but also like they're thinking about Vietnam, and maybe it's why you don't hear it a lot, compared to some of the other songs. Good song.
It's up to you, Joe. Let's go.
Yeah, I was saying, take it as it comes. I believe that was like a Maharishi phrase. I think the three of the guys, not Jim so much, were kind of doing the whole Maharishi kind of thing, and they were trying to get him to to get into it a little bit, and he was like, he's Jim Morrison, he wasn't. But I believe that phrase, take it as it comes from the Maharishi. That's where they took it from.
Yeah, this is a good one. Here's a little bit more.
Time to die. Take it easy, baby. Take it as it comes.
You got that punk rock sound right there. Easy punk rock.
This is definitely a punk rock song. I love when it just busts out with that "Take it easy, baby." Like I could see like the Ramones doing that,
Yeah, I could too. Here's a little bit more.
Go real slow. You like it more and more. Take it as it comes.
Yeah, I like that little art breakdown they had going on there. I would have switched this with the end of the night. I would have put this before it. And kept,
I feel like they might have done that, and then they were like, "Well, we can't put that right next to the end."
Yeah. I guess it would have flowed really pretty cool. But now we're at the end.
Now we're at the end.
At the end. And yes, that is a picture, an actual, not Photoshop picture of me at Jim Morrison's grave.
Okay.
Yeah, yep. That's it was fenced off because there was so much graffiti and stuff, and it was so funny because I was standing. I have film footage. I filmed it on a video camera the whole time I was there. People were like throwing joints on at his tombstone and stuff. It was insane. Pouring liquor. It was like a big party over there. It took me forever to find because it was Paris. We got to the cemetery. The most incredible cemetery I've ever seen in my life. My God, when we found it, I was like, it must have took an hour walking around to find it. It was so big. Beautiful guitar intro by Robbie. Just very simple, right? Simple chords.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. I love the way it all just kind of comes in together slowly. You know, there's no like count off and, you know, just there's something else started. They all kind of come in playing together, and it's just really soft and you know, it builds up to where Jim comes in. It's just so just flows so well.
And for a 13-minute song, like it just goes so quick. When I
does not feel like 13 minutes.
This is the end. Beautiful friend.
I think each time he talked about it, he said it meant something different to him. So, you know, I don't think he ever gave a straight answer as to like the deep meaning. I know so many people have tried to explain it, but sometimes with abstract things, it's what it means to you.
Like you got there like the very beginning. This is the end, beautiful friend. This is the end, my only friend. But then you're like, you know, ride the snake to the lake.
Well, I think I heard this one thing where maybe I'm remembering part of the movie where when he was a kid and he saw the one Native American guy get like run over on the side of the road, and it kind of came to him, you know, some of this, but a lot of it I think was just improv, you know, because it was one of those songs they play live originally, and you know they would try to stretch it out as much as they could, you know, just for stage time, for lack of a better term. But
then there was Peace Frog as well, which had that weird spoken thing, Indians scattered along Don's highway.
That kind of sums up that story, especially I think that scene's in the beginning of the movie. But that definitely sums up that whole Peace Frog with the Peace Frog end.
A feeling of like some of the Velvet Underground material that had this kind of a feel to it, and with the spoken word on the White Light, White Heat album, there's a lot of this kind of thing. And
you know what's interesting about that guitar solo is that's very not a very complex guitar solo, very good guitar solo, but not complex. And this is California, 1967, and somewhere in California, is a young Eddie Van Halen that in the next 10 years is going to be like, you know, like a madman over guitar, like a change guitar. And I just find it so funny how much changed in guitar from 67 to 77.
I mean, the 60s was a decade that every year was so different from the year before. Even half a year, you know, change in music, change in styles, change in society. We're just like, you look at, you know, any one year and it stands out. You look at like, you know, 2013 and maybe like, you know, 2021, like what's the difference? You know, but if you look at 1967 compared to like in 1965, like, wait a minute, it's a completely different universe.
I think that's because we're old. We could see that.
Yeah.
And these current years, we're like, this is all scrap
together.
It's all whatever. It's a big blur. It's all the same.
Yeah, I think we're all this. I think we're at the age where like, we're like new music. Oh, yuck, yuck. This, is much better back in the day. Here we go. Here's a little bit more.
Waiting for the summer rain.
Love that part. Waiting for the summer rain, and I love that little. This is where a drummer would beat the hell out of a drum, and John's just like boom, 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 like only like he can.
Mm-hmm. Like it gets slowly more aggressively on the cymbals. That's him, taking it up a notch. But but again, he's that percussionist that he just knows what to do in like every measure of the song to make it sound right. For lack of a better word.
This is a 13-minute song. I put an extra couple more listenings on this one.
The killer awoke before dawn. He put his boots on.
Right here's a song. Part of the song here where the killer woke before dawn, put his boots on. Like multiple songs in this song, and I think this is a separate part of the song. And I mean, what transpires when he says the killer woke before dawn to put his boots on? Everything after that is just amazingly like written, crazy, psychedelic. Talking about mother and father and. It's just crazy, but just I don't know, man. Like I couldn't even picture everybody's. I mean, for 1967, for everybody that was when they played this, what they must have thought because you didn't have.
I just feel like if this was the song they played, like at the end of a set, you gotta think everybody is trashed by the end of the concert, and everybody's probably having a different experience through whatever they're doing. So it probably gave everybody a different, they went from breaking on through to, well, okay, now we're at the end of that. They listen to these all kinds of, like you said, the song takes you in like 10 different places. I'm putting my boots on. I'm going to go and, I'm going to go kill my dad, have a little sexy time with mama, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of these things. Like Joe, would you say this is like one of the first songs in the '60s where someone is saying they want to kill a parent?
I don't know of too many songs that say that at all. So maybe it was.
But, I mean. I think I could pick a couple out in the 80s and 90s, but but not in the 60s. This has got to be like, I know the 60s way better than I do. I can't think of anybody singing something like this in 67.
Yeah, I mean, 67, I mean, things are starting to change, and you got like more like, abstract lyrics. Like John Lennon was very into like these strange abstract, and he said he didn't even know what he was writing about a lot of the time. He was putting words onto, it's like you're putting paint onto canvas. Some things are very clear. That is a painting of, a tree, but that's just some colors and it evokes some kind of a response from you, some kind of a feeling, but you might not be able to explain what it is that you're looking at. And I think sometimes with these abstract lyrics, I know a lot of people have delved into them and say, oh, it means this, it means that. Well, that's good. I feel that's a little pretentious when people say, again, I'm going back to my high school days. I'm like, I totally get Jim. And, like these like people, and 2 weeks later, they're on to like some, other pop stuff that like, okay, whatever the trend was. But they were so deep and they understood it all. Like, okay,
Jim didn't get Jim.
Yeah, I didn't quite get it. Yeah.
Here's a little bit. I guess the end of it. The end of the end.
Father, yes, son, I want
There
to
it is.
tell you. Mother,
And here we keep it PG at Album Deep Dive. If you want to know what's said after that, feel free to go on YouTube or Spotify or anything other than that and listen to the song. I think it's, like I said, there's two versions of this floating out there. There's one where he's going mumbo jumbo, and then there's one where he's plainly saying it. And I am going to listen to it again tonight because I was just kind of amazed by it. Yeah, so it's just one of those, things. I gotta send it to you guys. If I find it, I'll send it to you. All right, so that's the end of the movie, end of the show. They did some touring. None of us were there. None of us got to see it. And I don't think any of us, no, well, and the Doors stopped before we were all born, so we never saw any tour stories. I will say this on a tour. In the early 90s, I did go to a club in New Jersey, and I saw a Doors tribute band where this guy really thought he was Jim Morrison, and it had to be one of the most coolest shows I ever saw, though. I did enjoy that. Alrighty, as always, in Album Deep Dive tradition, favorite track off the album, BJ, go.
I wrote it down. I'm going to have to go with Light My Fire. It's just always been my favorite Doors song, so I can't change it now.
No, good choice.
It's a strong track, man. Light My Fire is such a strong track. It is the cliche answer, but you know what? It is the best track on the album.
Oh, we got two for that.
I do have a personal affinity. I do like 20th Century Fox. I think that's a really cool little song. But Light My Fire is a much better song.
Oh boy, I'm going to have to be the odd boy out. I'm going to say my personal favorite is going to be End of the Night. But I think the end, you can't get any crazier than this. And it just, to me, the best crazy songs ever. Now, where does this album fall in their Doors catalog for you guys?
I don't even know what to say because, as somebody that's grew up listening to so many greatest hits and, fake albums that, it's hard to really take the real albums together and go back and place them where they belong. But I don't know. I guess it would probably be this one.
Yeah, number one. Not even. I don't even have to think about it. I like other albums, but by far this one I think is superior.
And I will agree on that too. I don't think there's any bad albums, and I love them all. But I think this was a one-shot masterpiece, and I do think Strange Days is very close. It's a very good album.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's see here. I gotta take this out. Sorry, my earpods died on me. We'll cut that out too.
Don't go back to the 60s on us.
And then, other question I have for you, I guess for either of you, because I know you both briefly played in bands. Guys ever cover a Doors song?
I don't believe I did. No.
Oh, wow. I'm surprised. And then, BJ, I think you're wearing a Danzig shirt, right?
Yep. I used to have a Doors shirt, but who knows what happened to it millions of years ago.
Well, I find it very interesting because I'm somebody, again, who's a big Danzig fan, but I've always said and but talked with people about, I just hear so much of Jim Morrison's voice and writing in Glenn Danzig, in the Danzig era, not the Misfits.
Right. Yeah, and Danzig will tell you, he loves Jim Morrison, he loved the Doors, and he doesn't try to tiptoe around that. He'll tell you oh yeah, that's my biggest influence.
I was actually surprised when Danzig did the Elvis covered album. I would rather have heard him do a Doors cover album.
I wish he had done the Elvis album about 30 years ago, but that's another story.
Yeah, that's another podcast. Well, gentlemen, it was a pleasure to have you both on at the same time. I'm loving mixing my co-hosts together. I think it's been a lot of fun to do, and we're going to do more of that, hopefully. I want to thank the listeners for taking the time out. Please like, subscribe, leave any comments. It's so good to have you both here. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
There's a girl you'll fall in love with sooner or later, and there is not a boy I know who wouldn't want to date her. She is the epitome of everything